Good morning. My name is John Jones. I'm chairman of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. This meeting is being conducted pursuant to the notice provisions of the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act, with all participating authority members attending in person. While this meeting is open and public, there will be no public comments, as is OTA's longstanding historical practice. In addition to being open to the public for in-person observation, this meeting is being live streamed and recorded for remote viewing. The time is 10 a.m. and I'm calling the December 10th, 2024 regular meeting of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority to order. Charity, please call the roll.
Mr. Wilberry.
Here.
Mr. Todd Cone.
Here.
Mr. Gene Love.
Here.
Mr. John Titsworth.
Here.
Ms. Dana Weber.
Here.
Here. Thank you. Our first items on the agenda are recognitions and employee recognitions and other awards. The first award is to be presented by Major Garrett Val. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Okay, on the afternoon of Friday, October 4th, on the Cherokee Turnpike at approximately mile marker 3 westbound, a one-vehicle collision occurred where all the occupants were injured, and this required 5 helicopters to be landed on the turnpike to transport all occupants to local area hospitals for urgent treatment of their injuries. Trooper Smith, along with numerous other troopers and agencies on scene, as well as the citizens that had stopped to assist, tended to the well-beings of those occupants until medical aid arrived. After completing the collision scene investigation work and clearing the scene and ending his shift, Trooper Smith took it upon himself to drive up to the hospital in Tulsa in his private vehicle and on his own time to contact the father of the family and their members that were injured in the collision. He provided the father with words of comfort and items to assist them through this tough times. These actions by Trooper Smith were well above and beyond his required duties and is to be commended for a job well done. It's these types of actions that place the OHP and the OTA in high regard with the citizens of the state of Oklahoma. So I want to thank you, Charles Smith.
Our next award is to be presented by Ms. LaDanne Nelson. Morning, LaDanne.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the Authority, Director Kelly. Today, I have the privilege to present the members of the Team Builders Award for Keep Oklahoma Beautiful. The Too Toxic to Trash event in June 2024 was an event led by the City of Newcastle, which included the OTA, ODEQ, and KOB. The Too Toxic to Trash event was a safe hazardous waste collection site which collected numerous hazardous household waste such as paints, batteries, and pharmaceuticals. This event was free to the citizens of Newcastle via a grant through the ODEQ. We collected over 42 pounds of pharmaceuticals, 182 tires, and over 7,000 pounds of household hazardous waste. All of these items were prevented from possible environmental contamination and were disposed of safely. Jeanette McNally at the City of Newcastle has spearheaded this amazing event starting in 2023. This event was nominated for 2 years in a row for KOB Team Builders. In November 2024, the city's Too Toxic to Trash event won. We want to recognize the team members as they were vital to the success of this event. Star and Jeanette at the City of Newcastle, Patrick Riley and Libby at ODQ, Evelyn Schaefer and the KOB Board, and our own Rhonda Powell, Jeremy Smith, and the H.E. Bailey Turnpike Maintenance Crews. Together, we achieved our goal not to only keep Newcastle beautiful, but to keep Oklahoma beautiful. Thank you.
Our next award is regarding service to OTA, Mr. Joey Kelly.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Not an award, just some recognitions to give this morning. First and foremost, want to welcome Kelly Ford, our new OTA Director of HR. Wave, Kelly. I'll make her stand here in just a minute, and we can give her her and her team a round of applause. But Kelly will be responsible for leading our very comprehensive HR management program, our HR functions within the organization, responsible for investigating and resolving complex and sometimes sensitive HR issues, and of course contributing to the preparation of the agency's budget, conducting staff assessments, and recommending changes in organizational structure to optimize efficiency. A little bit about Kelly, originally from California. She earned her bachelor's degree in HR from California State University. She has 20 years of experience in HR from various industries. She and her husband, Kenny, a veteran, live in Edmond and have 2 children. So please help me in welcoming Kelly to the team. Next, I have one that's still just an announcement, something that's a little bit sad for me. You all know that TJ Dill has worked here for the Turnpike Authority for the last several years. He's came to the Turnpike as our construction engineer, worked for a few years at that and became chief engineer for us. And then just recently, actually earlier this year, became deputy director and chief engineer, serving in that capacity for the last most of this year, 7 or 8 months. TJ and I have worked together since his time at the OSU Design Squad. When I was still an instructor, after college, I taught civil engineering surveying at OSU for about 11 years. And during that time, TJ was one of the people in my class, established a high enough grade that I asked him to come and be a surveying teaching assistant for me to teach some of the labs. And at the same time, he got on at the OSU Design Squad doing OSU design. So following that, as I became a construction engineer at the Department of Transportation in Division 4, TJ graduated college and was just a brand new wet behind the ears EIT. And we had some challenges filling some of the resident engineer roles. You're supposed to have a PE to work in that capacity. But TJ was such a great leader, did such a great job at the university that we put him up at Enid, running the Enid residency during my time at ODOT. And he worked in that capacity until he passed his PE, and then went to work at the El Reno residency, and then followed in my footsteps and became the construction engineer in Division 4 when I came to the Turnpike Authority in late 2016. So just recently, Brian Taylor, the chief engineer for the Department of Transportation, began talking about his retirement coming this next year. And Secretary Gatz, Director Gatz, and I sat down and visited at length about, the future of transportation in Oklahoma, and what unique privilege it is for those of us that have gotten to work on both sides of the tax-supported system and the toll-supported transportation system in our state. We think that that's great. We support anybody at both ODOT and OTA that are trying to better themselves through career progression, switching agencies to get an idea of what the other agency does. We don't operate in a vacuum, and we rely heavily on each other. So as it relates to TJ, when Brian Taylor announced that he was going to retire in 2025, it just began to make sense that TJ step over into that role at the department, and really going to miss him at the Turnpike Authority. But I know that he and I will still continue to work together. He's here today, and so I wanted to recognize him and invite him maybe to say a few words to the board if the board would allow.
Man, Lisa, you got to write this stuff down for him, man. Gosh, really appreciate the kind words. Good morning, and thank you for allowing me to speak with you. I really just wanted to take a minute just to really thank you for the last 4 years that I've had here at the authority. This was never a path in my career progression that I ever saw coming to the Turnpike Authority, and that's a shame on me. But as a young engineer, ODOT was king, and that's kind of what you always wanted to strive to do and to be at. And when this opportunity came up in the middle of COVID, of all things, I was excited about a new challenge for something I'd never thought that I would get to achieve. So the Turnpike Authority has been really my home, and all these people behind me, and I've missed them very much the past week. But I'm very, very thankful for the next opportunity. I'm excited about it, and I'm still excited to get to work with the director, obviously, because it does take both sides to make transportation successful. So again, just wanted to thank you. I appreciate all of your leadership and your mentorship I've had from you in the past 4 years. So thank you very much.
Thank you, TJ.
I'll tell you, TJ, we're going to miss you too. I mean, you've done an incredible job for the Turnpike Authority, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you, TJ. Mr. Chairman, I'll move into the next announcement. Following TJ's movement over to the department, I'm excited to announce that we're doing a little bit of restructuring at the executive level on the Turnpike Authority side, and moving Joni Seymour back to a full-time role at the Turnpike Authority. So she is now the new deputy director at the Turnpike. She is overseeing what was a portion of TJ's duties, being the customer service and HR group, as well as all of IT, which includes the tolling and both the back office and the in-lane tolling. She recently served as innovation officer for the Oklahoma Transportation Cabinet, where she worked with every transportation business unit since April of 2021. We did that through a contract agreement between the Turnpike Authority and ODOT. She's always been a OTA employee, thankfully. And so she really worked to innovate and to streamline some of the organizational structures at both agencies and help with some of the technological processes. A little bit about Joni is that she's a native Oklahoman that began her career at OTA in 2004, eventually became a software development manager, and she worked in that role until 2013. When she left the Turnpike and went and worked just a little bit in the private sector. We don't blame her for leaving at that time, but we're very thankful that she came back. And she came back in 2017 as the Chief Information Officer. And so while she's been at OTA, she oversaw the successful implementation of our system, which has allowed Kansas and Texas originally to be interoperable with their toll tags in our state and ours pike passes in theirs. She also supervised multiple system developments and changes to upgrade OTA's tolling infrastructure and back-end systems, including the recently completed switch to all electronic tolling. Now returning as Deputy Director, Joni will oversee, as I said, the IT, customer service, and HR. She and her husband, Johnny, live in Yukon. They have 2 children and 4 grandchildren. So thank you for coming back and working with us in this higher role. Joni. This is getting a little long, and I apologize, partly because I'm long-winded here, but I do want to talk, we have a very important retirement that we want to bring to the board's attention today. Johnny Melton, and Johnny is here in the front row. Come on up here, Johnny. You can stand up here while I talk about you just a little bit. Oh, and special guest David Mockimer is in the room over here. I'll point that out as well. So Johnny has more than 43 years of service with the OTA. His hire date was actually June 9th, 1981. And he started as a toll collector working at the Oklahoma City Toll Plaza. He worked at the Chandler Toll Plaza and the Turner Main Line. He was promoted to toll operations supervisor in July 1993, and then promoted to assistant director of toll in August of 1994, which is his current role. Johnny could tell multiple stories about all the famous people that he met in the toll lanes when he was a toll collector. You have to think about that. When we didn't have a pike pass, everybody had to stop. Got to meet a lot of celebrities, I'm told, Johnny, so we'll have to hear some of those stories at some point. There were 6 turnpikes when Johnny started, and we've implemented the cash implementation on 6 new turnpikes since he became assistant director. The move of cash collections from the end of the end gates to the middle on both the Will Rogers and Turner turnpikes, Johnny oversaw that. His career also spanned the 100% cash collection to Pike Pass in the early 90s. He oversaw and was involved with that, as well as the most recent conversion to cashless and fully open road tolling. His years of operation experience spanned more than 250 toll collectors with lots of HR knowledge gained through that process. And everybody doesn't realize, but Johnny was responsible for 24/7, 365 toll collection. The Turner Turnpike, Will Rogers, all of these toll roads had somebody in a booth from their inception, from their opening date until the conversion to cashless. So that is a more than full-time job, I think we'll all agree. He implemented safety measures, including the armored car services, dual access safes, cameras, alarms in the toll booths, and cameras in the vault rooms. Johnny has always implemented the highest level of customer service, and Johnny's famous saying is, the toll collector is the face of the state and of the Turnpike Authority. So Johnny, thank you for your 43 years of service to the Turnpike, and I appreciate you being here, and of course David being here, and I think we're going to get a picture really quick. Big round of applause for Johnny. One last very brief just announcement. Typically the Turnpike Authority we try to post our meeting agenda and all of the attached documents the week before our board meetings. We have to get them posted at least 24 hours before the start date of the meeting, or the start time of the meeting. Over the course of the weekend, while we were reviewing some of the toll rates that are part of one of the agenda items, we found a discrepancy. That's the reason that yesterday morning, well in advance of the 24-hour limit, we posted a new and revised agenda for the meeting. And I just wanted to point that out, that's what occurred that time. With this board meeting following a holiday, preceding a holiday, and then some employees having some personal things going on at home that kind of led to that. And I apologize for that being posted after our normal post time, but just wanted to outline why that occurred. So with that, I am done with the recognitions and announcements today.
Thanks, Joe. Our next item on our agenda is the approval of minutes. I ask for a motion for the approval of minutes for the regular meeting of November 7th, 2024.
Make a motion for approval.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately electronically. Mhm. The voting is ended and the approval of minutes has been passed. Now moving on to our items of business. The first items are from the Finance Group. Mr. Cohn.
Mr. Chairman, we haven't heard from him for a while, but item number 1246 is Mr. Director E. Kelly. So,
I should have stayed up here. I was excited to be done. Item 1246 is the regularly scheduled authority meetings, the calendar for that for 2025. We've gone through those, looked, and I think that visited with each of the board members individually. We do have a couple of absences that'll be anticipated, but we do have at least a 5-member quorum that confirmed for all the dates. So propose those to the board, and we've reviewed it and recommend approval.
Mr. Chairman, based on that, I would recommend approval of the meetings calendar for 2025 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item number 1246. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended and item 1246 has been approved.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is Jordan Purdue.
Good morning. Submitted for consideration and approval of the authority is the transfer of the minimum and contingent annual authority assistance payment in the total amount of $4 million to the Oklahoma Department of Transportation as representing the amount equal to the project assistance payment for fiscal year 2025 to be transferred by the department to BOKF as trustee of the non-system trust agreement pursuant to the Gilcrease Expressway Assistance Agreement. This approval includes the authority's determination that all commitments in place to secure the existing Oklahoma Turnpike System Trust Agreement have been satisfied. As a reminder, that $4 million payment, $1 million of that is the minimum, and the $3 million is contingent, which is always based off performance. That payment is currently scheduled to go away in fiscal year 2030. But again, that'll be dependent on the performance. And just to clarify, make certain that ODOT solely serves as a pass-through for this money. They are not actually spending the $4 million.
Thank you. Any questions? If not, Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of item 1247 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1247. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. The voting is ended and item 1247 has been approved.
Mr. Chairman, the next item is item 1248, Wendy Smith.
Chairman Jones, members of the authority, Director E. Kelly. Item 1248 is a resolution establishing the schedule of tolls and charges applicable to all persons, firms, and corporations using the Oklahoma Turnpike system effective January 1 of 2025. Since 1953, the authority's only raised its tolls 11 times, and typically those toll rates are in conjunction with a large program. This is obviously no different. The Access Program is one of the largest, well, it is the largest reinvestments that the Turnpike has ever done. So, and this 15-year long-range program was initially announced in December of 2021. And as you know, this plan is designed to address significant transportation needs on our existing Turnpike system while also helping solve congestion issues along the I-35 corridor. Most recently, toll rates were increased to support the completion of the Driving Forward program, which included significant improvements to the Turner, H.E. Bailey, and Muskogee turnpikes, as well as the opening of 2 new turnpikes, the Kickapoo and the John Kilpatrick Southwest Extension. So this resolution accomplishes 3 things. The new toll rates that are being presented today will adjust the rate structure in order to achieve a 15% system-wide toll increase, or increase in toll revenues. Additionally, to simplify the tolling process, the classification of vehicles will be reduced from an axle-based classification system to 3 categories of vehicles known as small, medium, and large. And finally, beginning January 1st of 2027 and on each 2-year anniversary date thereafter, toll rates for the Oklahoma Turnpike system will be automatically adjusted by an increase of 6% to reflect inflation. This is pretty typical around the country. Many toll authorities, in order to keep up with inflation, and of course we've seen that going over the last few years, they do that, so it's basically 3% a year, but we're just doing it every other year at 6%. But the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority does review its toll rates and charges on an annual basis, and with the consulting with our traffic engineers as required by the trust agreement. And upon review, the Turnpike Authority will convene in either a regular or a special meeting for the purpose of adopting those automatically inflationary adjustments to the schedule and changes in the tolls. So I'll take any questions.
Any questions?
So the only comment I said is you'll be meeting to approve them, but also if you ever determine that it wasn't necessary, you could do that too.
Absolutely, yes. I'm sorry if I didn't say that. That's what I meant. Thank you for that
Thank you for all your
clarification.
work on this. You put in a lot of time.
Yes, it was a
Very much
lot.
appreciate it.
There was a lot of rates, so. Any other
Mr. Ch-
questions?
Any other questions? Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of item 1248 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1248. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended and item 1248 has been approved.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is item 1249. Micah Gardner.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the authority. Item number 1249 is a request to authorize the director to negotiate and execute a contract with Mythics LLC to provide Oracle Enterprise Performance Management software for an amount not to exceed $2,800,000. This is a multi-year contract that includes software as a service hosting for the financial and supply chain modules, along with cloud priority support through 2029. In preparation for this new system, our division had worked to identify financial and system requirements needed for a new ERP platform. Once this information was determined, a request for proposal was issued and demonstrations were conducted. Oracle Fusion, which is under the Oracle EPM, was then selected by an evaluation committee. This new ERP platform will be a holistic accounting system, which will include purchasing, accounts payable, capital assets, general ledger, and our financial reporting. Currently, all of these functions operate in 3 different systems, and this system will combine all of these areas into one platform, ensuring a higher level of operating efficiency. This conversion will also allow OTA an easier integration of certain reporting elements related to the state's financial transaction reporting, along with robust analytics and a modern artificial intelligence capability. The contract would be for a 5-year period, beginning January of 2025, ending in December of 2029. Staff has reviewed this item and recommends this item for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner. Any questions? If there are none, Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of item 1249 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1249. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended and item 1249 has been approved.
Ms. Gardner, you get 1250 also.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Item 1250 is a request to authorize the director to negotiate and execute a contract with Mythics LLC to provide implementation and integration systems services for the Oracle Enterprise Performance Management software for an amount not to exceed $3,700,000. This contract includes the system design and configuration, integration of historical data, and system user training. We plan to begin the implementation of the Oracle Fusion system in January of 2025 with a system go-live date of 1/1/2026. This requires system design, configuration, data integration, and user training to be completed in a condensed time frame in order to meet the desired deadline. The system integration contract is necessary to ensure that staff can still be operational during the system conversion and not solely focused on just the new system setup. Staff has reviewed this item as well and recommends it for
Thank you.
approval.
Are there any questions? If there are none, Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of item 1250 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1250. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Item 1250 has been approved.
Mr. Chairman, the next item is 1251 by Amanda Bolden.
Good morning. Submitted for consideration and approval of the authority is a request to authorize the director to negotiate and execute statements of work related to staff augmentation for an amount not to exceed $12,540,472.84. These statements of work are for staff augmentation for Information Technology Division, Information Security Branch, and Innovation Branch. These statements of work will be assigned through both master service consulting contracts previously authorized by the board and statewide contracts. The breakdown for each one of those groups is listed on the agenda item, and staff has reviewed above and recommends for approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yes. In looking at the budget, I'm guessing that this is being applied to general funds request and professional services, staff augmentation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Any other questions? If there are none, Mr. Chairman, I'd move for approval of item 1251 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1251. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Item 1251 has been approved.
Mr. Chairman, the next item is 1252 by Ms. Williams. Good morning, Ms. Williams.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the authority. Submitted for your consideration and approval is to authorize the director to negotiate and execute a contract amendment to include 5 months extension with Questmark Management Information Systems to begin January 25th. This contract is for mail services for statements, invoices, notices, and postage for all customer types. The proposed extension will provide a necessary time for a new vendor to onboard. The amount due for this extension shall not exceed $8 million. Staff has recommended approval, and if you have any questions on this one.
Are there any questions?
I was just kind of curious, of that amount, I noticed, I'm assuming that a lot of that is for postage. Do we have any
Yes.
ideas approximately the percentage of that amount that's going to be for postage?
Most of it is for postage. So postage cost for this year so far is $8.5 million, and printing was $1.9 million. So yeah, most of it does lay in postage.
Yeah, that's what I was assuming. I just wanted to confirm.
Mhm.
Any other questions? If there are none, Mr. Chairman, I'd move for approval of item 1252 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1252. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Item 1252 has been approved.
Ms. Williams, you also get item 1253.
I do. Okay, so this one also, come in, ask for approval for the director to negotiate and execute a new contract with CSG Systems, Inc. CSG Systems will provide a service at OTA's new mail house, as a new mail house service during new mail house service for this vendor for our onboarding process that will run parallel with the services provided to OTA's current vendor that you just approved for. This contract is for a two-year extension with a 2025 budget of $11.8 million. This is the best estimate based on the unit price of printing and pass-through postage expenses. The intent is to come back to the board in 2025 for the approval for a 2026 contract amount for printing and postage. Staff has reviewed this item and recommend approval. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? If there are none, Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of item 1253 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1253. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Item 1253 has been approved.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is item 1254. Anish Paranol. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the board, and Director E. Kelly. Submitted for consideration and approval of the authority is a request to authorize the director to negotiate and execute an additional 2-year contract with Tagus LLC for the fulfillment of PipePass transponder orders for an amount not to exceed $1,832,485. Agenda item 1237, previously approved on November 7th, 2024, extended transponder fulfillment services with Oklahoma Direct to allow for a new vendor to onboard during calendar year 2025. Tagus has been identified as that new fulfillment vendor following an RFP bidding process. The term of the contract with Tagus will commence in 2025 to include onboarding and fulfillment of transponders. Staff has reviewed this item and recommends for approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
How many Pike Pass transponders will that cover?
So during the year of 2025, we aim to fulfill 490,000 transponders between Oklahoma Direct and Tagus. And during the year 2026, when Tagus is onboarded and is taken on full transponder fulfillment, they will do 512,000 transponders in 2026.
Hopefully we can get more people on transponders so we can cut down our postage.
Oh, yes.
Any other questions? If not, Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of item 1254 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1254. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Item 1254 has been approved.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, the next item is 1255. Ms. Patterson? Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the authority. Item number 1255 is the payment register prepared by the Comptroller Division. This payment register includes all payments made for the month of October 2024. The staff has reviewed this item and recommends this item for approval.
Are there any questions? If there are none, Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of the payment register for the month of October 2024.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1255. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Item 1255 has been approved. Our next items of business on the agenda are from the Engineering and Construction Division. Mr. Berry.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. The first item is item 1256, will be presented by Mr. Gardner.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the board. Presented for consideration of the authority is a request that this change order be approved. This change order revises the unit price of one lump sum item due to an underrun of estimated riprap quantity from previously approved supplemental agreement number 24, and also adds 2 new items to compensate the contractor for additional work. This item has been reviewed by staff and is recommended for approval. And one thing I'm proud to say on this project is this should be the final change order to get the Gilcrease Expressway closed out, which has been a massive accomplishment. So be happy to answer any questions you might have, as always.
So as soon as we close this out, we can start the North Gilcrease then.
Are there any other questions?
And the good thing is it's a negative change order, so that's good too.
Absolutely.
Are there any other questions? If not, I move that we approve this item as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second for the approval of item 1256. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended and item 1256 has been approved.
Next item is item 1257, will be presented by Mr. Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Good to see everyone this morning. Engineering Division has 5 items we'd like to present for consideration today. That's items 1257 through 1261. We also have 1 information-only item. You'll have to bear with me. I actually just got some new bifocals here. First time to wear bifocals. I was going to try to wear them this morning, but they're gone. Just going to go ahead and take those off because I don't think they're going to work. So just get that out of the way. I think the joke around the office this morning was how long they were going to stay off. They are off. So, all right, here we go. First item, this is item 1257. This is for 5 good construction contract awards. First one there is project CMC 37. This is shoulder and guardrail reconstruction from milepost 21.8 to 40.6. It's near Glencoe and Noble, Payne and Pawnee counties. You can see there we had 6 bidders. The low bidder for the project was Becco Contractors, the amount of $10,357,000. Again, did have 6 bidders. on the project, just to kind of give you an idea relative to the engineer's estimate. That sixth bidder came in, that last bidder came in at $12,506,000. But the low bid was about 4.9% below the engineer's estimate, so good bid there. I've got 5 of these, so I'm going to run through them quick. Stop me if you have any questions. Okay, the second one there is item C71A. This is shoulder and guardrail reconstruction from milepost 32 to milepost 45. This is near Daisy in Atoka, Pittsburgh, and Pushmataha counties. Also had 6 bidders on this project. Low bidder was APAC Central. The amount of $7,299,780.13. This is about 9.1% below the engineer's estimate. And again, that last bidder was Cummins Construction at $9,270,000. So good bids there again. Third project is item C72A. This is bridge rehabilitation of Bridge 15.83. This is over Mill Creek near Vernon in McIntosh County. Project consists of superstructure replacement, including new steel girders, diaphragms, bearings, deck, parapets, approach slabs, and substructure repairs to the abutments and piers. Had 7 bidders on this project. The low bidder was B&B Construction, the amount of $2,040,380.17. This is about 10.8% below the engineer's estimate. And that 7th bid, that last bid, was about $2,569,000. Fourth project, MBMC 51A. This is a pavement rehabilitation project, Dalbar retrofit and diamond grind, to be more specific. This from milepost 37 to milepost 56 in Muskogee County. Had 5 bidders on this project. The low bidder was Interstate Improvements at $12,596,993.91, which is about 16.2% under the engineer's estimate. There were 3 major pay items that comprised of a majority of the amount that consisted for the under bid portion there. That was concrete joint sealing at around $1.3 million. The actual Dalbar retrofit about $672,000, and the diamond grinding about $356,000. So it was about $2.3 million there. The 5th bidder on this project was about $17.3 million, the highest bidder in the group. And our 5th project is MBMC 53. This is concrete pavement reconstruction from milepost 12 to milepost 19. This is near Coweta in Wagner County. Just had 2 bidders on this project, large project. Do-It Construction was our low bidder in the amount of $34,355,726.55, which is about 23.6% below the engineer's estimate. 5 major pay items really made up the difference there. Ag base was about $1.5 million below the estimate. Stabilized subgrade about $1 million. PC concrete, the placement of that was about $1 million. The Dow jointed PC concrete placement was about $2.5 million. And then the overall concrete for the project was about $4.1 million. So again, aggressive bid by Do-It. We're certainly not complaining about it. Again, about 23.6% under the estimate. So staff scrutinized, reviewed, cussed, and discussed these bids, and we recommend approval on all 5 of them.
Well, I sure think that having the amount of bidders sure makes you feel comforted, along with the bids that are, or along with the value underneath the engineer's estimate.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
sign of good times.
Yeah,
You keep bidding.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, we've talked about it a number of times, over the years. The engineer's estimate, you're kind of chasing, bids over time. And so there's always a little bit of a lag. At some point, our engineer's estimates could start trending a little bit on the more downward side. But, yeah, I don't think we have any room to complain on these bids.
Are there any other questions? If not, then I move that we approve item 1257 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1257. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Please vote appropriately. Item 1257 has been approved.
Mr. Butler.
Sir, the next couple of items, item 1258 and 1259, these are both on-demand design contract items. First one here is contract CC-09. This is with consultant CC Incorporated. This is a not-to-exceed amount of $4,013,610.34. This contract modification is to provide compensation for additional engineering services for the respective access program projects. This change will increase the consultant's not-to-exceed contract amount to include select contract milestones on select projects. Project milestones include stages of 30% completion, 60% completion, 90% completion, 100% PS&E bidding phase, construction services, and project completion documentation, including as-built plans. As you can see there are 6 design segments associated with this contract CC-009. The first one there, I'll just touch on these briefly. The first one there is JKT 30003. That's a project that's currently in design on the Kilpatrick. Then to move to the last, the 5th and 6th bullet points, those are 2 of the South Extension projects. Those are obviously still on hold as we have not restarted those. A lion's share of this work is the East-West Connector 28,008, 28,009, and 28,010. The design work for these 3, again, is a lion's share of the total amount. This essentially includes about 8.4 miles of mainline turnpike, and again, new alignment here we're talking about. 17 bridges, numerous bridge boxes, retaining walls, 3 interchanges at Interstate 40 and the Kickapoo Turnpike, Peebly Road interchange, and Choctaw Road interchange. This design work also includes, of course, roadway design, bridge design, traffic design, quality control, quality assurance, project management, hydraulic studies, geotechnical work, survey, right-of-way mapping, and of course, environmental. Again, the amount under this contract modification number 3 shall not exceed the $4,013,610.34 for these services, and that brings this total contract amount to $22,392,774.34. We have not only reviewed, but we've gone through active, lengthy, time-consuming negotiations on these large engineering contracts. And again, we recommend approval on this modification. Happy to answer any questions.
Any further questions? If not, I move that we approve item 1258 as presented.
We have a motion for approval of item 1258. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Please vote appropriately. Item 1258 has been approved.
Mr. Butler.
Yes, sir. Item 1259. This is another on-demand design contract modification for the Access Bond Program. This is for contract TEI-02. This is a consultant with Team Design, a not-to-exceed amount of $35,788,417.73. This contract modification will provide for compensation for additional engineering services for respective access program projects. This change will increase the consultant's not-to-exceed contract amount to include select contract milestones on select projects. Project milestones include plan stages of 30, 60, and 90% completion, 100% PS&E, bidding phase construction services, and project completion documentation, including as-builts. As you can see there are 3 major design segments associated with this TEI-02 contract. To hit on that last one first, that is our Turner 26010 project on the Turner Turnpike, which of course is widening. This is a small portion of this project. We've currently are at 30% plans for that one, and we have still not negotiated the remainder of the contract for the scope and fee. So majority of this total contract amount is for the two east-west connector projects. EWC 28,003, which is roughly from Western Avenue interchange east to I-35. And then by far our largest, most complicated project in the Access Program is EWC 28,004. This is the multi-level major interchange there with the east-west connector, the I-35, of course, Interstate 35, and major connections with Indian Hills Road as well as the I-35 service roads. Most of the funding in this contract is for the 28,004 to the tune of about 44.8 million of the overall 56 million, and then for East-West Connector 28,003, that's about 9.9 million of the overall contract. The East-West Connector 28,003, this is 3 miles of main line turnpike, new alignment, includes a diamond interchange at Western, and 8 bridges totaling about 48 spans. The East-West Connector 28,004, again, you know, by far is probably the most complicated engineering project that I've been involved with. It's got an aggressive schedule. There's 7 phases, including our East-West Express phase. Work in this contract will go all the way out to 2030. So this is a long-term contract for this work. There's over 30 bridges. And when we think about bridges, we think of you know, some of our smaller bridges, maybe a 3-4 span bridge. In terms of these bridges, from what I've counted up, there's over 266 spans throughout the 30 bridges. Numerous retaining walls, numerous ramp connections. Again, a long-term complicated project with an aggressive schedule. So again, the not-to-exceed amounts, $35,788,417.73, and the revised contract amount, total contract amount is $56,534,693 or $690.73. Also want to mention lastly that because of the magnitude of the project and the effort, you know, this is much more than team design. This also includes 12 other subs: CC, Benham, W2M, BKL, Guy, Cowan, Standard Testing, Michael Baker International, TC, Utley, and Heartland surveys. So again, extensive negotiations taking place for you know, a lot more days than I want to get into up here, but it's been an incredible process really to go through the amount of work. It's, you know, ODOT was involved in these negotiations with us as well, since it includes I-35. So again, we recommend approval, and again, happy to answer any questions on this.
Any more questions or comments? If not, I move that we approve item 1259 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1259. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Love. Please vote appropriately. Item 1259 has been approved.
Mr. Butler.
Yes, sir. Item 1260 and 1261, these are 2 emergency declaration ratifications. These are, I think everybody's aware, these were from the same vehicle, same accident. These bridges are about a mile apart. The first one here is item 1260. This is submitted for consideration and approval of the authorities a request to ratify the Executive Director's November 22nd, 2004 declaration of emergency to repair TPU Bridge 6.76 on the Will Rogers Turnpike in Rogers County. You can see the attached November 22nd memorandum on the following page. On November 21st, 2024, TPU Bridge 6.76 over the Will Rogers Turnpike was struck by an overheight vehicle This bridge carries East 540 County Road traffic over the Will Rogers Turnpike approximately 6 miles southwest of Claremore. Immediate repairs are necessary to restore the structural integrity of the bridge and to make it safe for the public traveling on and below the bridge. The work will consist of repairing or replacing the east and west exterior girders in the westbound direction. This bridge has been closed to traffic until repairs are made. This executive director's declaration of emergencies in accordance with the Public Competitive Bidding Act of 61-130. Staff's reviewed and we recommend approval. And just to elaborate on that a little bit further, we have reached out directly to a contractor. We've got a quote of $128,500. And we're lucky to have already started this work. It started on Sunday night, so repairs are already in progress.
Do we know if the striking party had insurance?
Yes, yeah. Took a little bit of work, but they were identified, and we do have insurance on hand.
Any more questions? If not, I move that we approve item 1260 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1260. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Love. Please vote appropriately. Item 1260 has been approved.
Okay. Item 1261, a second ratification of declaration of emergency. Again, submitted for consideration, approval of the authority's request to ratify the executive director's November 22nd, 2024 declaration of emergency to repair TPU Bridge 5.48 on the Will Rogers Turnpike in Rogers County. Again, the memo is on the following page. On November 21st, 2024, TPU Bridge 5.48 over the Will Rogers was struck by an overheight vehicle. This bridge carries the East 550 County Road traffic over the Will Rogers Turnpike, approximately 7 miles southwest of Claremore. Immediate repairs are necessary to restore the structural integrity of the bridge and to make it safe for the public traveling on and below the bridge. The work will consist of repairing or replacing all 3 girders in the westbound direction. And again, the bridge is closed until these repairs can be made. Staff's reviewed the item and recommends approval. Again, just to follow up on that, we have received, so we got separate quotes on this. This was $153,500 for this work. And for both bridges, it consists of a combination of heat straightening and sectioning the beam, which is cutting out portions of the beams and replacing them with a different beam. And, you know, everybody knows we've done a few of these ER projects over time, but still want to give a shout out to the contractor for being so responsive to us, and also our GEC and Olson. They, besides our maintenance, they usually make the first structural inspection. They also put together the emergency repair plans. And of course, our maintenance division is on site first to close the road and do a cursory inspection or whatever they need to do. And of course, our construction division, for this situation, reached out to the contractor and was able to work up a quote once we received plans. I believe the work will last 8 or 9, 10 days. So hopefully, maybe early next week, we can get those open. We've notified the county commissioners, and they're aware of the situation. Happy to answer any further questions.
Any questions? If not, I move that we approve item 1261 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1261. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Love. Please vote appropriately. Item 1261 has been approved.
And while I'm up here, Mr. Berry, if I may, I'm going to go ahead and mention our information-only item. This is a construction contract award for another ER project, which is TER 042. And this is, again, emergency bridge repair of Bridge 78.8 near milepost 214.3 near Sapulpa in Creek County, Oklahoma. If you recall, on August 1st, 2024, TPU Bridge 78.8 over the turnpike was damaged due to an incident involving a commercial vehicle fire. The bridge carries 111th Street over the Turner Turnpike near Sepulpa. We had 6 bidders on this ER project. Built Right was our low bid in the amount of $596,608. We do have insurance, obviously, for these repairs. This is unfortunately, a fairly new structure that was built during the driving forward widening up on the east end of the Turner. And these are long J-beams, which is pretty much the tallest, longest precast, pre-stressed concrete beam that you can purchase. Again, I think it's 142 feet long. Due to the heat, there was a lot of spalling. The epoxy was essentially dripping out of the bottom flange, the epoxy that covers some of the reinforcing in the beam. So 2 of these beams will be replaced of the 4 bridges, so it's a major repair. Again, that's the reason for the significant cost, but due to the contractor being awarded this today, it's going to take a little bit of time to have 2 J-beams manufactured and delivered. So I believe that work is probably going to end up taking place toward the latter part of January. We're hoping. So be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Everything sounded great.
Okay, I'll put these glasses on, see if I can get back to my chair.
My final item is item 1262, which will be presented by Mr. Nope.
Rhonda.
Mrs. Rhonda. I guess my
Rhonda,
agenda's not right.
yeah, nope.
I shaved my beard.
Yeah. You don't look anything like that.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the authority, Director E. Kelly. OTA purchased part of parcel CR 344 in 2003, containing 18.79 acres with access rights to South Aspen Avenue. The authority acquired the property as part of an partial acquisition for the construction of the Creek Turnpike. The current developer of the remaining property on the south side of the Creek Turnpike has requested the authority restore a portion of the access rights to accommodate a 40-foot right-in, right-out driveway approximately 0.18 miles north of the intersection of South Aspen Avenue and East 121st Street South in Broken Arrow. A curb cut was requested to facilitate traffic flow within the commercial development area. The access break is approximately 220 feet between gore points of the proposed driveway and the intersection of East Aspen Avenue and the Creek westbound off-ramp. A staff review of the property was conducted and has been determined that the requested restoration of the access rights will not adversely impact the maintenance or operation of the Creek Turnpike or the safety of the traveling public on East Aspen Avenue. Based on that determination and the staff's recommendation, the following is submitted for the authority's consideration and vote to approve. Declare as surplus approximately 40 feet of access rights for South Aspen Avenue, part of Section 34, Township 18 North, Range 14 East in Tulsa County, owned by the authority on the Creek Turnpike. Authorizes the director to obtain a survey, appraisal, and sell, lease, or otherwise dispose of the property, including use in a land swap to acquire other property needed for the Turnpike system. And if this seems a little familiar, it is. This is what we did off Aspen Avenue on the north side of the creek. It was agenda item 1130 back in November of 2023. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? If not, I move that we approve item 1262 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1262. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
Thanks, Mr. Love. Please vote appropriately. Item 1262 has been approved. Next on our agenda items are the report section. The first one is the Highway Patrol report. Major Vowell.
Morning, Chair, Board, Director E. Kelly. For the month of October, our Turnpike troopers made 4,673 violator contacts. They assisted with 905 motorist assists and investigated 131 motor vehicle collisions. Troopers worked 965 shifts, averaging 231 miles per shift for a total of just over 222,000 miles driven. Unfortunately, we had 3 fatalities for the month of October. One was on the Bailey, one on the Turner, and one on the Kilpatrick. We had 10 criminal interdictions that were reported. And then our special, or our specific information on our commercial motor vehicle enforcements, aircraft, our toll enforcements have been included for your review. And if you may, at the last board meeting, we talked about how the increase in September for our collisions was high. So throughout this last month, we've created a spreadsheet. We went back to 2021 through current, and we're going to continue to do this every month. And it has each troop and per month on there, so we have a quick view of any type of anomalies we might have, or what months that we can see in the future. If we know a month's coming up that we have higher collisions in a certain troop area, maybe we can direct more personnel in that area to deter some of those collisions from happening. But I've made copies of these after the meeting. If any of you guys would like to see those, I'll make sure those are available. You have any questions?
How close are we to full staff?
Fortunately, next year, when we have this academy, we will be at complete full staff. Thanks to the director for helping us with that, but right now we're still probably 35 people short.
Getting full staff hadn't happened in a long time.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Definitely needed.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Our next report is our consulting engineer report, Mr. Jimmy Sparks.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the authority, Director E. Kelly. Concerning the trust requirements, we will be starting our in-service facility inspections for the 2025 annual report soon. There's sometimes some bridges that just due to the every 2-year federal required dates come up after the report period. So some of those actually happen for the 2025 report and potentially in 2024. So I did want to say that, kind of highlight that the trust agreement calls for an inspection of the Oklahoma Turnpike system by the consulting engineer at least once a year, and for the report to include findings whether the turnpike system has been maintained in good repair. Also includes recommendations for proper maintenance, repair, and operation of the turnpike system, as well as estimates for capital improvement projects. And then also, as we've talked about before, insurance for the major assets. And lastly, that the proper amounts have been invested or been deposited into the reserve maintenance account, which I kind of talked about our process, I think it was in October. And I wanted to go back to something I highlighted in October and looking at some of the bridge data. And when you have 350 span bridges that carry turnpike traffic, and a lot of those being constructed, before 1975 or before, and speaking with reinvestment, a 10-year period, our NBI ratings, which is a 0 to 9 for turnpike over decks, actually has increased, as well as the substructure and superstructure ratings have remained steady. So I just always want to highlight that it takes proper reinvestment. Darren talks about all these new bridges coming online. We do have a large system that is aging that we'll have to stay on top of. So I also talked briefly in that reserve maintenance evaluation that over the next 15 years, there's about 55 bridges, and I did want to say that over the last 2 years, we've at least started. I've got 9 bridge projects, so continuing to keep up a good pace on that. So always want to hint that that reinvestment level is very important, and the authority has stayed committed to that. In November, our engineers checked 8 special overload trucks for passage on turnpike bridges. Our monthly report also contained the detailed reports for the 2 bridges on the Will Rogers Turnpike that were hit on November 21st that Mr. Butler presented earlier. So some pretty, if you saw those, the pictures of them, it had some significant damage to it. As always, our capital plan project summary is in our monthly report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thanks, Jimmy. Our next report is our trustee report. Ms. Singleton.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the authority. As bond trustee to the authority, all monthly debt service transfers were made for the semi-annual payments due to the bondholders as required by the trust agreement. To our knowledge, all other requirements set forth in the trust agreement have been satisfied. Questions of my report?
Anybody have any questions? Thank you. Keep doing a good job.
Thank you.
Our next report is our report concerning our operating results and financial condition. Wendy Smith.
Chairman Jones, members of the authority, Director E. Kelly. You've all received your operations report for the month of October, prepared by the Comptroller Division. OTA continues to be in strong financial position and in compliance with this trust indenture, as our trustee previously reported. Staff definitely appreciates the approval of the final change order on the Gilcrease. The Gilcrease has been open now for slightly over 2 years, so it's going into its 3rd year of its ramp-up period, which I tell you is about 5 years, so we stay patient with these new turnpikes. But it's doing so great. The transactions are continuing to climb. Daily transactions for the Gilcrease Turnpike for the month of October increased 35% over the month of October for 2023, going from 21,536 vehicles per day in 2023 to 29,135 per day in 2024. And again, like I say every month, this being a commuter turnpike, during weekdays, it is at about 31.6 per day as compared to the weekend average daily traffic that's just over 22,000 cars per day. And the public continues to discover this route, which we couldn't be more thrilled about. So going back to the Oklahoma Turnpike system, net toll revenues for October 2024 reported at $36.1 million, an increase of 7.4% as compared to October of 2023. Total transactions grew by 4.2%. Heavy truck traffic in the lane remains strong, and additionally, year-to-date toll revenues actually outpaced last year by about 7.2%. So our growth is steady as well. We continue to maintain our conservative approach to spending, and collectively for the year, the division managers have held their revenue fund operating expenses to 19.1% under the 2024 operating and maintenance budget through October, and we do continue to achieve and exceed our trust-required senior and total debt service ratios, which is a very good indicator of our financial health. And I'll take any questions.
Any questions? Good job. Thank you. Our next report is our director report. Director E. Kelly.
All right, good morning again. Want to talk just a little bit, and we've got some slides that we're going to show, and this will not be new information, shouldn't be any new information to any member of the board. These are things that you have seen in the past, but this is all going to be in relation to item 1248 that was graciously approved just a few minutes ago, being the toll increase. And I just want to outline and cover a few things that I think that we overlook from time to time, and I'd like to take this opportunity to present this both publicly, get it on record, and broadcast it to those people that are watching remotely. So one thing that we talk about routinely at the Turnpike, and I usually present this anytime that I'm talking to anybody, is why do we have toll roads in Oklahoma? Why do we have what seems like so many? And why do we continue to build more of them? And this graphic that's in front of you right now shows that we have the 14th largest transportation infrastructure system in the country by state, with nearly 240,000 lane miles. But it is supported by a population that's the 28th largest in the state. So you're talking about an infrastructure system that's pretty significant in size, being supported by a population base that's in the bottom half of population by state. In conjunction with that, those things would be okay if we had a much higher motor fuel tax, but we don't. We have one of the lowest motor fuel taxes in the country. When you look at other states, there are 3 states that are less than Oklahoma's motor fuel tax. One of those is Hawaii. One of those is Alaska, that we don't get a lot of drivers to and from Hawaii or Alaska. And then the last one is New Mexico, that's only a half penny less per gallon motor fuel tax. I highlight that because without the turnpike system in our state, and especially Oklahoma being a very young state, when other states had already paved most of their highway system, Oklahoma in the early 1940s still had a significant portion of its highway system that was unimproved, meaning that it was dirt. The improved network was gravel, and then they had some paved miles that were also completed in the 1940s. And we had a problem in our state that we needed to widen Route 66, and unfortunately it passed through a lot of really small towns between Tulsa and Oklahoma City. It was our busiest road. Still had 8-foot and 9-foot wide lanes in some portions of it. It was very narrow, set up for a wagon. And so the Turnpike Authority was created to build the Turner, pay off those tolls, and then convert that to a state road. That is no doubt the marching orders that were given to the Turnpike Authority in 1947 was we were going to build a road, get it paid for, and then give it back to the state to operate and maintain. Not long, right around the time that the Turner Turnpike was opened, we realized how far behind we were in the rest of our state for having some nice 4-lane divided infrastructure. The Turner Turnpike was the first 4-lane divided high-speed roadway west of the Mississippi, not just in our state, but west of the Mississippi at the time. The only other 4 lanes that we had paved in Oklahoma were a section of Route 66 in Tulsa and a small section here in Oklahoma City. So it was obviously a desire that we get more 4-lane divided highway in our state. So by referendum vote in 1954, we were able to cross-pledge, meaning we treat all of our toll roads as a cross-pledge network, with the exception of the Gilcrease that Jordan outlined earlier. So with that, I think the next slide talks a little bit about what our business model is. We sell bonds, we issue these bonds, we design, we use that money to do the design work, we purchase the necessary right-of-way, we move utilities, and then we build and construct that road and then open it to traffic. Using those tolls that we collect throughout our network, we repay those bonds. If you looked at where your toll dollar goes when you pay it, it's about 1/3 of it goes to pay off bonds, about 1/3 of it goes to operate, and about 1/3 of it goes to maintain. And the big portion of that operation's a big budgetary portion of it is the highway patrol that we pay through contract to patrol our network and including funding the Troop Academy that Major Val talked about just a few minutes ago. So that's the business model that OTA has. We issue some bonds, we design and build some roads, and then we collect those tolls and repay those bonds. And we've made that bond payment every year without fail since 1953 when the Turner Turnpike opened. Historically, the toll rates on OTA's system have been set to ensure that we are able to meet our financial obligations, as well as operate and maintain the system. It's a very difficult calculation, but it's pretty straightforward. The number of vehicles and the number of distance that they're driving needs to be able to pay for the bonds and the operations of our system. And our system continues to grow in our state. The slide that's up there now shows some history of the toll rates, what they are and when they were increased. We didn't go all the way back to the beginning, but this goes back far enough. I think 1969 raised tolls in conjunction with the construction of the Indian Nation and Muskogee Turnpike. Another toll increase in 75 associated with the Cimarron Turnpike. We've raised tolls twice due to something other than a construction project. Once in 1979 due to the petroleum crisis, and then again in 2009. But one of our most significant toll increases happened to build the very first legs of the John Kilpatrick and Creek Turnpikes, as well as the Cherokee and Chickasaw Turnpikes in the early 90s. You'll see a couple of asterisks there. One is that in 1991, we implemented the Pike Pass system. And with that system being put in place, we raised tolls for the cash customers and incentivized using the much cheaper to administer Pike Pass system. So many people switched to the Pike Pass system that we then, in 1993, had to do a toll increase that increased the Pike Pass rate and the cash rate, again, providing some more separation between those toll rates, again, incentivizing people to use the much cheaper system of the Pike Pass. In 1995, another toll increase was done in conjunction with the completion of the Chickasaw, Cherokee, John Kilpatrick, and Creek. In 2001, we built the west side of the Kilpatrick and the east side of the Creek Turnpike and the H.E. Bailey Spur. And then in August of 2009, during the recession, the Turnpike Authority needed to raise tolls to meet its to make its bond payment and continue its reserve maintenance, funding its reserve maintenance. The end result of that was a few years later, when the U.S. recovered from that recession, traffic volumes went back up, and we were able to use that excess revenue that was coming in. I don't want to call it excess revenue, but that additional revenue that was coming in, we were able to use that to sell bonds to do the widenings, the very first widenings of the Kilpatrick and Creek Turnpikes. Most recently, the Driving Forward program was implemented. A 17.5% toll increase was implemented in 3 stages. The first leg was in 2017 in March. The next was a 2.5% toll increase in January of 2018. And then the most recent was a 2.5% increase in 2019. That increase was only for the cash customers at that time. Again, providing separation between cash and our Pike Pass system, which is much cheaper to administer and collect on. When we look at our toll revenues or our toll rates compared to the national average, on this next slide, we've got a little graphic that just shows our per mile cost is around 7 cents a mile. Currently today it's 6 cents, so this toll increase is about a penny a mile increase on average across our network. That is still well below the national average of 22 cents. We double checked that recently, and those are current national average numbers. Those do not include the list of toll increases that will go into effect in other states on January 1st of this coming year. But there will be additional increases in some other states, some of those associated with projects that they're undergoing and undertaking, some of them just associated with the additional costs due to inflation. So that is the passenger vehicle rate per mile. The next slide shows how the Turnpike Authority, through history, has tried to keep tolls as low as possible. When the Turner Turnpike, and this is just for the Turner Turnpike that's shown up here, when it was first opened, the toll for the full-length trip was $1.40. And if you'd kept up just with CPI from 2040 to current, the toll rate would be $16.22. And we've been able to keep that toll rate low, mainly because we get so many drivers on our network, and because it was built very well at the time, down to what the current rate is of $4.50. So that's through the end of this year. And again, what these toll rates, the increase is to fund, and on the next slide illustrates it. This is all about the Access Oklahoma program. If we can agree that the Turner Turnpike needs to be widened and that the Will Rogers Turnpike needs to be widened and that we need additional interchanges throughout our system and that we can help the Department of Transportation with some of the congestion that's ongoing on the south side of Oklahoma City, then if we can agree that those projects are necessary, and that then the only way that the Turnpike Authority can take those on is through this toll increase. I showed this graphic last month, I think, and it shows the a new total that we're showing as a final stack of receipts when the program is done of $8.2 billion. I've been asked, what would make that go up if the projects take longer to do, if there's additional, either whether they be delays due to normal things or outside of the normal things, that estimate could be more. If the projects go faster, if we can beat the construction inflation, those projects could be cheaper. So that's always the goal. Been working closely with LaDan, obviously TJ in the past, but LaDan and Jeff, Darren, and the PO team on trying to figure out what projects we can do sooner. You heard Darren talk about that we're trying to speed up some of the design work, especially around the east-west connector, and that's all in just trying to provide some of the certainty for the people that are affected by these projects, as well as trying to get them done, because we know that I-35 is in need of that reliever route. Let's see. So when we first announced the program, when we first announced the access program, we were able to do our first bond issuance without a toll increase. One of the things that, and I didn't talk about this, but one of the things that is reflected in our toll rate that we charge has to do with the interest rate that we're able to achieve when we enter the bond market. And the lower the interest rate, the better value we can get on that money. We're able to pass that along to the patrons that are driving our network. So with this toll increase, that should put us in good position to visit with rating agencies in the coming weeks as we get this bond issuance rated. On December 5th, just this last week, we received approval from the Council of Bond Oversight to enter the market in early 2025. We'll be marketing the bonds in January, and we hope to be in the bond market, obviously the first month, January, or into February if we need to get these priced. Obviously want to thank you, the board, for your continued support of this long-range plan and the reinvestment in our state. It's not every day that a state agency or state entity can go to the bond market and bring $1 billion back to Oklahoma to be spent on its infrastructure. So it's a big ticket item, and we're very proud to be in charge of that. This new toll rate that was approved today takes effect January 1st. And the rate increase varies a little bit by turnpike, basically based on how much work happens on that turnpike that you can see on this map. So the 20% toll increase is on the Turner Turnpike, the Will Rogers, the Kilpatrick, and the Kickapoo. About 15% on the H.E. Bailey Creek, Indian Nation, and Muskogee turnpikes, and only a 10% toll increase on the Cimarron, Cherokee, and Chickasaw turnpikes. The next graphic kind of gives you an idea of what you have the before. So today, if you drive the Turner Turnpike, it's $4.50 with a Pike Pass to go 90 miles. And a big chunk of that trip looks like the image on the left. 4-lane, narrow inside median, narrow outside shoulders, guardrail, short bridges. You heard the presentation earlier about emergency bridges getting hit. And what we're trying to get to is that image that's on the right, the 6-lane of the entire Turner Turnpike, nice wide inside shoulders, wide outside shoulders. The bridges are going to no longer be 14 feet and change tall. We're going to 18 and a half feet is our goal that we're going to try to hit, so our bridges are no longer the low chord. We still make things in our state, and some of them are pretty large. I routinely see large, heavy, wide loads, wide and tall loads taking rural highways to get around and through our state. We want to get those large goods and put them down the turnpike system, get them on the interstate, and get them out of these small towns where they cause such a large disruption. So that's part of us going to a high and wide corridor on all of the turnpikes that we're doing this program. And again, going from 6 cents a mile to an average of 7 cents a mile on our network to achieve that. Lastly, this last slide will show a little bit of a chart that kind of gives you an idea of the toll rates across the nation on toll roads. This doesn't include necessarily tunnels or toll bridges, which are exceptionally more expensive. This doesn't include managed lanes in neighboring states like Texas that can vary greatly in rate. So this is just the toll roads, and again, we're in that small green block there far to the right, and after the increase, we're just going to move up one. We're jumping the, I can't actually read, I may need Darren's glasses to read that, but we're only moving up one spot in compared to other tolling entities in the country. And that's not necessarily due to anything that we have done recently. That's due in part to the long-standing tradition of the Turnpike Authority in keeping its rates really, really low here in Oklahoma. In addition to, and the next slide here will show, in addition to this toll increase, we are simplifying our toll structure. So if you were a vehicle crossing our state and you'd try to calculate what your toll was based on the number of axles that you had, there were 5 different categories. We're condensing that down to 3, doing a small, medium, and large, meaning that if you have 3 or 4 axles, you'll fit in that medium category, and anything with 5 axles or more will be considered a large. That'll make everybody's Pike Pass statement or plate pay statement just a whole lot more clear and easier to read. So we're excited about that. I also want to announce to the group, and this is no longer a slide, I think, but to the group today, that we are completely cashless on the toll network, and that's due to a lot of the people that are in this room. That is the largest safety improvement that our turnpike system has had next to cable barrier throughout the entire system. Major safety improvement. The Will Rogers converted just a couple of weeks ago, went off without a hitch. We've gotten good at doing these conversions over the course of the last several years as we've been implementing them. But it's one of the major milestones in our history. It's the most significant thing since Pike Pass debuted about 33 years ago. One thing that we see some complaints about have to do with the higher toll rate charged for plate pay. There are additional costs to mail those invoices, whether it be for the postage, the printing, or the packing, or the vehicle registered owner lookup. So we're always trying to get people to utilize the Pike Pass system. We're one of our interoperable partners. We're interoperable with Colorado, Kansas, Texas, and now most of Florida. And we're working really, really hard. As a matter of fact, it's one of the things that I've charged Joni to really get involved in, again, with the Turnpike Authority, is being interoperable nationwide, specifically with Easy Pass Next, which we're targeting to do sometime this next year. And that'll take us from about 90% toll tag transaction to something closer to 95% toll tag. So again, big time excitement around the cashless conversion, and really want to thank our entire team for all the work that they did to get moving on that. In conjunction with the cashless conversion, we also reworked our Pike Pass website. So most people have 2 reasons to do business with the Turnpike Authority. Either you're a project partner that's either looking to do work for us or contract with us. We've shifted a lot of that information over to the government-owned site, the government side of I think it's OTA.gov. I'd have to get that website. But on the Pike Pass side, which is where most of our customers go, we've really cleaned that up and done a rebrand, and the new website looks great. If you haven't been to it, visit pikepass.com to see what it looks like. It's got new colors. We've streamlined the navigation on that site and built in some enhanced technology. It's also mobile responsive, so it looks better on your cell phone for everybody who's trying to use it in that way. And we've got more enhancements that are planned. Once you click into it, sometimes it goes back to the old website, and we've got more enhancements planned for 2025 that we'll implement soon. And the new Pike Pass logo was also launched as part of this. The original Pike Pass logo was part of 1991. It was red and green, meaning replace the old stop with the red light, and green whenever the light turned green you could go. So this is the first rebrand in 33 years, and we don't have any more red. There's no stopping on the Turnpike system unless it stops itself, which can happen from time to time. And the logo is now a deep blue and green to convey the customers will enjoy the nonstop travel on our network. And our new tagline is safe, efficient, and reliable. Following that, we had a short conversation before the meeting about some of the ongoing construction that we have on our network. I want to highlight a little bit of that right now, just in the last couple of weeks. And this is sometimes attributed to people that are traveling from out of state. We had a rash of rough accidents in the Wellston interchange on the Turner Turnpike. The speed limit there is 55 miles per hour. I drive that stretch twice every day, coming to and from the office, and every day somebody is exceeding that speed limit through that work zone. It's led to some accidents. The design for those curves that are in that area are 55 miles per hour, and they meet. The lanes are slightly narrowed there by about 6 inches. So when you're used to a 12-foot wide lane, those are 11 and a half. The difference being in this location that you have barrier wall on each side, so it feels a little tighter. And so we would ask the public to please, in conjunction with always wearing their seatbelt, to please slow down and obey the speed limits that are in our work zones. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd answer any questions that the board might have of me.
Any questions or comments? I was writing down a couple of notes, Joe, based upon things we've heard this morning, and I just wanted to touch on a couple of these. Obviously, you know, our roads are user-based, and the convenience of them are certainly well-known. I had a friend recently drive back from Dallas over Thanksgiving, and when he got to, and traffic was really good from north of the casino at Thackerville up to Purcell. And at Purcell, it became a deadlock, which highlights the need for the south extension to get the traffic, and people that are going to Tulsa, give them an alternative, not having to drive 35 through Oklahoma City. Obviously, inflation is something that we all are affected by every day, no matter what you do, what you buy, what you spend your money on, we're affected by it. I think the fact that the bids that we saw this morning are something that hopefully continues, and, you know, we can keep our costs as low as we can. I don't think the public totally understands, and I didn't. I think Dana and I had the opportunity, and other board members have as well, when the Kickapoo was being built, the early stages of my tenure on the board. We got a very good tour from start to finish of that project, and it was in its dirt work infancy at that time. I think some of it on the north end is starting to get paved, and you get a really good understanding of what highway construction is. And then recently in October, I had the privilege of going out and seeing the construction that's being done on the expansion on the Turner north of Bristow. And it is massive. The amount of just the undertaking that's not normally seen. When you're driving by, you see, you know, heavy machinery obviously doing dirt work, but the massive amount of dirt that's moved, the drainage concrete boxes are something to behold if you've never seen them in their construction. And when you start talking about the length of mileage that we're doing on that, you see these costs of what roads are, and it gives you a better understanding of why it costs so much. So our bids being low this morning on the 5 that Darren talked about, that's a great indicator, and hopefully we can continue that. But inflation's real, we're all affected by it, and I think our increase this morning, thank goodness it's needed, but it's also as low as we can have it to where it's not as impactful to the user-based driver, of which more than half is out of state. But it's, again, user-based. So, and the other neat thing about this is, you know, Access Program is an additional job creator. So as much work is going to be done, it's going to create additional jobs. So just some quick thoughts that I thought about as we did this, and certainly think that what we're doing is needed. Any other questions or comments? Thanks, Joe. With that, that concludes our business for today. I ask for a motion for adjournment to our next meeting scheduled for January 7th, 2025.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Please vote for the motion. We are adjourned to January 7th, 2025. I hope everyone has a happy holiday and a happy new year.